take the reins probably, but we'll go. All right. We are live. What is going on, ladies and DeGents? Welcome back to the Distinguished DeGents podcast. I am one half of the Distinguished DeGents. This week I am a bad beat beta. There's nothing good. There was no big bucks to be made. I got murked week 18. Joining me as always, though, the one and only Jason Money Mansmann. Money Mansmann, it was a rough week for me.
I mean, it was good to be a Bills fan.
Yeah.
The Bills definitely made my week a little less bad, but it was not good. It's not what you want.
Yeah, I was gonna say you had a bit of a quest and not just a battle with the bookies. You had a battle with like the Tree of Destiny out in the backyard after the way this week went. Just oh geez. Yeah, that gives you an idea of how this week went for us. It was bad enough going after week 17, like having like lost like the three best teams not make the fantasy championship in our league. Then week 18, it's like we had crazy handicaps. I know we split on a couple of them, but it just felt like either one of us had the right handicap, it just went the wrong way, or it was wrong but you sucked out. And for me, it was like I didn't get either one. It was like I either got witching houred or like it was just straight up the wrong side. And literally like the polar opposite of like our past success, which was very unfortunate. But I mean, what was your overall take just with Chaos Week, the way everything went down?
Yeah, Chaos Week. And it was literally like opposite week for me where 4 o'clock had been so good. And I just did dreadful. 4 o'clock basically killed like a lot of really exciting bets. And like I said, I mean, I got very lucky because the Bills getting it done and covering the number saved me quite a bit of change. I mean, I still lost like with the court bet. I'm assuming the court bet, we got nothing back from that, right?
We went 6 for 10.
Yeah,
we got everything right on the Buffalo Miami side. We hit that Jet. We'll get to that game, but the Jets under 14.5 was a total killer.
Oh, yeah, that one hurt too. Yeah, I mean, I was 9 units down. Not good.
About 20. About 20.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah.
Now, to be fair, this was like I said, it's Chaos Week, so I went a little extra heavy on my bets instead of 1 unit plays. 1 unit plays were 2 unit plays. Some were even 2.5 unit plays. The stronger I felt, but it just, God, you just get some of these, and like I said, we're gonna get to some. We just got murked. Some it was like right handicap, just wrong ending. The Saturday games literally was kind of like that. That should have been the foreshadowing that I should have just cashed out everything and just enjoyed the week. But yeah, 1 o'clock hurt. Although I will say I had some of my bets were futures hedges, so I got some futures bets to come in. That was kind of nice to help alleviate the losses, but not nearly enough to, really cure the Sunday woes. It was very, very brutal. But anyways, we'll go ahead and get started with this week 18 slate. And starting up, it was a really rainy, ugly game in Baltimore. Ravens 10, Steelers 17. It was a very close AFC North battle. Tyler Huntley, Mason Rudolph, they played it close once again, but Mason Rudolph ends up getting the edge. Ravens really did seem to struggle with Tyler Huntley this time around. I know the rain didn't help. A lot of receivers were dropping catches. They opted to go for the 3 instead of going for the touchdown on 3rd down late in the game. Kind of killed any hopes for the cover at 4. Sort of a bad beat on that end if you're a Ravens better.
Yeah. They took the field goal, which actually got Ravens 8.5 bet that I had, so that was good. But yeah, I mean, we probably should have known that in a rainy, grimy game that the team that needed the win was going to get the win. It was a close AFC North battle, or at least it felt like a close AFC North battle. But it's a shame. I thought we had a chance at the cover for a while, but then Pittsburgh got that late touchdown, and that was sort of it.
And I'm pretty sure that one was my under of the week, and that was a deadlock. Yeah, it was. Yeah, my last minute under of the week, that did hit. And honestly, like the minute I saw the rain, I was like, oh, I'm loving this under bet. It literally went down from 35.5 when we handicapped it. It dropped another 5 points. Still hit. Which means, you know, for like, of all the picks I had, that was the one I ended up on the right side on. And again, that was like a 1 unit play. Wasn't really that confident. Kind of concerned, but yeah, just should have hammered that one more, but no, I made other mistakes and played other games. Like this one, my dog of the week, Indianapolis 19, Houston 23. Houston is your AFC South Division champions. Luckily, I cashed out of my Colts play for live in season. I bet them at 6-1 to win the division. Cashed out, got my money back before the game started, but tough break for Indianapolis. They were driving late in the fourth, and then they took out Jonathan. Literally, everyone's talking about it. They took out Jonathan fucking Taylor, and they put in a third stringer with their whole season on the line, and the poor guy just drops it.
Yeah.
Oh, look. What's up, Niner gang?
Hello again, Niner gang. Yeah, we'll definitely get into some of the crazy coaching changes as we get to those games. Yeah, it's a crazy. At least Pete Carroll. Well, Nick Saban retired. Good for him. He's had a good college career. Pete Carroll. I don't know. He's like still with the organization, but in like an advisory role, and maybe we really didn't want to not be the coach. So we'll definitely get to that as we get to those games.
Yeah, most definitely. But yeah, what the hell was
the goodbye speech? I did not.
It was very emotional. He actually ended up like at the very end. I think he was trying to thank his wife and his family. He ended up like breaking down. It was very touching. But anyways,
he had a good run though. But yeah, I mean, Colts Texans. I predicted the Texans. Kind of got lucky because. But again, I mean, talked about it a little before. I think the only thing to say with that game, you know, Steichen goes and he puts a guy with 6 receptions for the season. That's who you go to on 4th and 1 with your season on the line. That's not really a smart play.
Am I the only one that hated the play call, or did you think that? The
play call was good. I think it might have worked, but I just don't know why you're doing that to, again, a guy with 6 receptions all year, season on the line, and it wasn't the best throw. And, you know, a guy with 6 receptions on the season dropped the ball.
Well, you have a Jonathan Taylor who, like, don't get me wrong, this isn't like a Marshawn Lynch on the goal line situation per se, but you have a Jonathan Taylor who you know could get the yards if he really wanted to. And it wasn't like he was being stuffed all game. This was a situation where, like, if you have a guy like him, you hand the ball off 4th and 1, or you do like a read option at the very least to give yourself that opportunity. But it just seemed like the play call, even with the timeout, which I also thought was weird. Steichen calls timeout before the play's even called. And then because you call timeout, you only have 2 timeouts with, you know, less than a minute to go, or less than 2 minutes, and all of a sudden you make that call and he drops it. Like, it just seems like they didn't have the foresight of what happens if he drops this, because now you've burned a timeout and you've screwed yourself. That was really what, like, the drop was bad, but you know what? That's the NFL. Sometimes that shit happens and you just got to take the L when it comes around. But I just thought that was really shit coaching at the very end of the game, which was very shocking because I thought like that would have been like a D'Amico Ryans move, but no. But congratulations to him. They got the AFC South. Now you got to go up against Cleveland in what's going to be a big heavyweight bout for a wild card. I'm actually looking forward to that game. But
yeah, and in typical Houston Texans fashion, there's literally an argument about whether the Texans owner needs to go into a guardianship. They're having a court battle because the owner doesn't feel she needs to go into guardianship. So. You know, hope that doesn't dampen what has been a cool story. Honestly, Houston's a cool story. I like what CJ Stroud has done and what the team did. And last one on that game, it's funny because you're talking about the timeouts. Me as a Houston bettor, I'm watching Indianapolis drive and the clock is running, and I'm like, why isn't Houston taking timeout? Like, they're going to run out of time if they score. So it was crazy that ended up working out.
That was weird too.
Tepper could use a guardianship.
Yeah, to say the least.
Funny.
Love it. All right, next up we're going into the Sunday slate, and this was for the Caser. We ended up pushing at 9. No case of beer for me. Saints 48, Falcons 17. Ding dong, the witch is dead. No more Arthur Smith. Dipshit is gone. I don't know. I have two sides of this. I think we have to talk about the game first before we talk about the end of the game. Really weird last minute. It seemed like they made Taylor Heineke inactive, put back Desmond Ridder, which was like strike number 1,000 on Arthur Smith, the most inconsistent guy with the media. Well, it's like, oh, well, Heineke's the starter for the rest of the year. And then he puts in Ridder. Then it's like the other way around. You just never fucking knew. The guy just couldn't even be consistent to begin with. Number one, so was the offense. The offense was so inconsistent in the game. First quarter, like first half, the offense looked like it was going to be able to keep up with the Saints. Looked like it was going to be a back and forth shootout. And it was like, holy shit, Desmond Ridder's finally showing up on the road. And then second quarter came around. I don't even know Niners game. I don't even know if he went out with a bang. It was more like he went out shooting his own foot. Quite frankly.
I'll tell you what, I think Atlanta's defense knew he was going to be fired because this was really why I actually picked the Saints in the game, besides just the Caser. 2 weeks in a row, the Falcons defense just completely no-showed. And they looked like a team that knew the coach was gone, didn't really care about playing for him, and was, had one foot in Malibu because they did not show up even a little during that game.
Yeah, how many times did they go into the hike 1, 2, 3 Cancun? You have to wonder with some of the plays they had on defense. It was very...
Yeah.
And then speaking of...
Derek Carr was throwing, they were... No Alvin Kamara, no problem.
Yeah, they made Derek Carr look like an MVP candidate in that game, and that was the dreadful. But again, now we have to get to the end, which I know it's been talked about everywhere. Jameis Winston, in the victory formation, changes the play call in the huddle, ignoring the coach, and they run it in for another touchdown to drive up the score. Now I was with you in this game, and I'll say my opinion later, but I want to get yours first. Like, now that we saw everything, because when we were watching it live, we were kind of like, oh wow, they ran it in really last minute. Like, okay, like what a shit show. And then they're cussing each other out, and we're like, oh, like did we miss something? Was there like a fight? Like, and then come to find out, no. Dennis Allen says no, victory formation, and Jameis just kind of goes rogue. I mean, what do you take of this situation? And now that Smith is gone,
yeah. So neither coach in this game should have a job. Dennis Allen should have been right out. I mean, Jameis Winston literally goes out there and they make a team decision that they're going to run the ball in from the 1 yard line. I mean, no offense, if you're a coach and your team's not going to listen to you, why do you even have a job? And no offense, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I'm happy I didn't owe you the case of beer because it did land on the 9.
Right.
I feel like this was a Saints team. When you look at the way they played Week 18, that was a team that should have won me the case of bet. Like, I should be getting a case of beer.
And how many games did you see this year with the Saints? You had so many bad beats. The Green Bay Packers, prime example. The Jacksonville Jaguars Thursday night. I brought that up before too. And the Carolina game they did win, but that was like another game that was very close, like early in the season, week 2. Where
what about the Tampa Bay game at home where they complete no-show 26-9?
And then go to Tampa and beat the shit out of them. Like, it just, and again, the New Orleans Saints was like the classy definition of inconsistent. That's why I bet them to go under 500, because and that was one of my hedge bets that did hit. So glad that came in at least, because the rest of my bets were a fucking no-show. Now, I will say this. I have two trains of thought when it comes to that situation with Jameis in New Orleans. Number one, I 100% agree with you on Dennis Allen, but I also agree with Shannon Sharp's take, which was, if you're Dennis Allen and your backup quarterback goes out there and literally audibles the play and just defies your call for no reason other than just to say we're going to shove it, why does Jameis Winston still have a job? Why was he not cut too?
No, that's true. That's true.
Now, if this is Derek Carr doing it, he's your number one. I get that makes it a little bit harder. Not that I agree with that take, but that is the dynamic and the politics of it. Jameis is a backup. He's going to be a career backup for the rest of his NFL career. He's the most exciting backup because he's on a team like the Saints, and you're like, why isn't he the starter? And then you see him against Green Bay. You see him in this situation, and you're like, oh yeah, that's why he's a fucking backup. Number 2, Arthur Smith, to put up the biggest tantrum on the field after you got, like, let's be honest, you got fucking murdered in Week 18. You didn't put up a good fight. You got fucking wrecked. To throw the biggest hissy fit and not shake the opposing coach's hand. On one side, I'm like, what a fucking bitch move. That just proved you needed to be fired. It just proved that you didn't have the locker room to begin with. On the other hand, this is more of the degenerate argument, not the DeGent, as we like to say. This is the degenerate argument. If I'm going to go up and start cussing up a storm because I'm pissed off that the coach has just disrespected me in my home turf, like, and if I already know I'm going to get fired, I'm fucking knocking a dude out. I'm fucking throwing hammer fists at this guy. If that's truly how you feel. And for Arthur Smith, like, the tantrum was just so bad that I just felt like, look, if this is the route you really want to go, just fucking start swinging. Just show that, like, you're not going to take that bullshit, like, prison yard style. You don't take that disrespect. I'm just going to make a statement. That's what he should have done. Because I guarantee you, if had he done that, other NFL teams would have saw that and been like, oh, that's the kind of fire we need in our locker room. And they're going to fire him, so he's going to be the first guy I want to bring over. But no, you throw a tantrum, you start crying, you say, fuck you, and then you storm off like a child. And you're going to run to daddy who owns FedEx and get a new job with him on the board. It's going to be cute, but...
Look, I think at the end of the day, that sort of tantrum that he threw, it was just indicative of a team that, let's be honest, has completely given up to end the year, and in their last 2 games of the season showed zero fight. So, I mean, that was the most deserving sort of coach firing, I feel like.
They waited minutes till the midnight hour.
I mean, maybe Ron Rivera was probably more deserving. I mean, he's been really bad too. But yeah, Arthur Smith was right up there as someone who deserved to not have a job.
Last note, I think I saw this 3 straight seasons, 7 and 10. 3 straight seasons they've earned, I think it was the 8th or the 10th pick in the draft. And it's like, you haven't seen consistency this bad since, God, what was it? The coach for the Rams.
Jeff Fisher,
thank you.
reminds me of the Bills' drought years, 7 and 9 every year.
Yeah. Well, speaking of drought, the Cleveland Browns playoff drought once again ends. They've already clinched, not that it matters, and they did lose. It was 14-31 since.
Yeah, this one will be quick.
This one, and there was a lot of like sharp bettors all around Vegas we listened to, and we should have like really rallied behind them, but I think the sentiment was the same. The number scared off a lot of people. And this is the kind of game, Week 18, we should have hammered.
Yeah. This was probably the easiest, sadly, in hindsight, this was the easiest game because Cincinnati had everything to play for in terms of motivation, Jake Browning, playing for a career. Jamar Chase said he wanted to be out there. They didn't want to get swept by the division. And then, you know, on the other hand, the Browns, you know, they're resting up for the playoffs. Like,
100%.
You know, it was Jeff Driscoll.
No, yeah. Oh, my God, Jeff Driscoll. So, yeah, Browns defense is legit. And
their backups. Not their backups.
I mean, let's be honest. Was it the backups or the third string? I mean.
No, true.
That's my take. This was a third string Browns against everything that the Bengals had left this season. And we should have hammered the Bengals, but we didn't. Lesson learned. Yeah, I don't really have much of another take other than Jake Browning coming out saying that there's 32 NFL quarterbacks and he feels like he could be one of those 32. He just happens to be backing up a guy who's top 5. Sounds a lot like Cam Newton, but I saw a lot of Jake Browning this year, and there's times where I kind of disrespected him and he proved me wrong. And then later in the season, it's like, oh yeah, you're a backup because you can't prove yourself
Look,
against the good
I
teams.
think with the backups, you always got to be careful because of the Josh Dobbs effect. Remember when Josh Dobbs was good and then he had like 2 bad games and was done? I mean, that's why I think sometimes you got to be careful. Like we saw some good Browning, we saw some bad Browning. But I mean, really, in terms of Cleveland, it's going to be interesting because, again, we've talked about it. The Browns' defense and the Browns in general have been a lot better as a home team, and I'm curious to see. They're going to go on the road to Houston, and remember, with Case Keenum, the Browns obliterated Houston in a game where I actually had them as a best bet. They obliterated the Texans, and so going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, and I forget what the number is. I have to get an updated number, but I think it's like an 8 or 9 point, like 8 or 9 points per game difference with this Browns defense at home compared to when they're on the road. And I mean, they're like prime example. Like you had games where they were at home and they like would hold opponents to like 10, like 13, and then they would go to. They went to Baltimore and it was like 30-31. The Rams, they gave up 30 plus to them. And for some reason, this Browns team on the road just does not play the same as when they're at home. I don't know what it is. It's just for some reason they give up more. So I'm very interested when we get back together Friday to see where you lean in terms of betting. And I think right now the line was at 3.5, but now it's Joe Flacco, who, by the way, has never lost a wild card game.
Oh,
it's 2.5 now. So Browns are a 2.5 point road favorite with that defense. And you kind of have to wonder, are the Texans coming off that Super Bowl mentality?
Yeah. That's probably I'll a little tease. I mean, again, have more handicapping to do, but that to me feels like my avoid game because I don't know if I want to back the Browns on the road, but I don't know if I want to back a rookie quarterback. And I think there's a big stat. I'm sure one of the podcasts I listen to will talk about it. They always talk about the quarterbacks making their first start and like their first playoff start. I think their ATS record is like, under 30% or something. It's not good.
Yeah. Cleveland Browns, that's how much they score. Let's see. Real quick. Thank God for StatMuse. They literally come up with all the numbers that you need for handicapping. If you ever want to try to find an angle, that's where I go to. But yeah, Browns, they at least score on the road. They're 24 points per game on the road. I don't know how much of that is like statistically with Joe Flacco at the helm versus with the other quarterbacks, but they all can't be Brock Purdy.
We're not going to see Brock Purdy this weekend.
They can't be a white quarterback under Kyle Shanahan's system.
I don't know though. Brock Purdy has managed the system a lot better than Jimmy G. I mean,
yeah, I think we're starting to see that. I think you might have been right on that, but we'll move on. I got nothing else with that Cleveland game.
No.
This one though, we definitely are gonna have some talks. Jacksonville 20, Tennessee 28. Titans played the upset. Cinderella went home. Midnight has struck. The poor bitch is dead. Titans covered as a 3.5 point home underdog. They get the win. It seemed like a swan song game. We handicapped that right. My Jags under 9.5 win total hits. That was nice. Derrick Henry comes out, has a good game. Yeah, I just wasn't really sure what to take of this other than, once again, you get a Trevor Lawrence who, number 1 overall pick. I'm not going to say he's not the guy for Jacksonville. I think he's still done enough to be the quarterback. It's just, I think his narrative of being a great quarterback, like we heard last year from the playoffs, like I think we're starting to remember this guy has choked a lot of bad situations. And when it comes down to it, when it matters most, he's never been able to get the job
I think next year is a big year for Lawrence because I don't want to give Jacksonville a mulligan. Because, I mean, we talked about how bad the spot was for them, but at the end of the day, Titans were still like 5-11 or whatever coming into
This
the
was
game.
the worst Titans team, I think, under Mike Vrabel. Although I will say they ended the year a lot better this year than they did last year.
I'm very surprised Mike Vrabel got the boot. I mean, that's really interesting too, because now they have Will Levis, and the question is like, does a new coach want to move forward with Will Levis? That's a weird. The Titans, I think, are going to be bad for a couple years now. Like, I'm surprised they got rid of Vrabel. I think they're going to have some down years.
And do you think Derrick Henry is going to move? Where do you think Derrick Henry lands at this point? If this really, because it sounded like at the end, and again, another clip, if you haven't seen it, Derrick Henry gave an end of game speech where he basically thanked the city for the last 8 years and literally made it like a swan song speech. And again, very, very touching moment for the Titans, but yeah, I don't know. I like where they're going in the sense like they have like a Tajay Spears. They have depth. It's just, do they have the right coach to do it? And I think where Vrabel messed up was, I think we're I'm trying to word this carefully.
Yeah, I agree, Niner gang. The Henry train is leaving the station. I think.
I wonder, so here's where I was getting at. I wonder if Vrabel got into the mentality of he took a Ryan Tannehill and got the number 1 seed at one point, and then in 2021 continued to have success, and just had the mentality of, like, I'm a good coach, and I'm a leader of men, so I can take anybody and make them successful, and it just kind of bit him in the ass these last few years. Or if this was just, maybe the Titans were good with who they had when they really shouldn't have been and shot themselves in the leg because they got in a situation with like AJ Brown where they kind of had to trade him because they either did. I can't remember if they didn't have the draft, if they didn't have the salary cap, or if they just didn't want to pay him, but they just shot themselves in the foot there. So yeah. I think I'm with you. They're going to be bad for a little bit.
I think it just hurt because they sort of missed their window. Tannehill got old. Henry got older. A.J. Brown, they, I don't know, couldn't afford to keep him or whatever. And yeah, it's a shame about Vrabel because I thought he would get another go with it. But yeah, to me, it's like the Titans are on my early list of teams I want to fade next year. Because again, you have a coach who's going to be inheriting Will Levis, who's coming off an injury, you know. I agree with that. I could see this being a complete full reset, and that's why they're one of the teams I'm going to be looking to fade. And just real quick about Jacksonville, again, not to give Jacksonville a mulligan, I just don't think you know how bad, like, Trevor Lawrence was hurt. I mean, I think he was seriously injured. And, I think it's going to be a big year for him next year. Because if he doesn't perform again next year, you start to wonder, is he really the guy moving forward? And is Doug Peterson really the guy moving forward? So big year for both of them next year, I think. Because you can't finish third in the division again next year. That's for sure.
You went 9-8 with Doug Peterson. You weren't going anywhere with Urban Meyer. Trevor Lawrence was looking like a bust. You've now made him relevant. I think both of them, at the very least, have earned another year or two, in my opinion. But, and the third place in the division, you kind of, I'm not saying put an asterisk. I think that's a little overdramatic. The AFC South was very good this year and very unpredictably good. The Colts, their starting quarterback, Anthony Richardson, went out. It was Gardner Minshew. You can make the argument Gardner Minshew had no reason to be, I think they're 8-9 or 9-8. They had no reason being as good as they were. The Texans, rookie coach, rookie quarterback. They won the division in a spot nobody really predicted them to do it. I think the odds were astronomically high in the offseason. So, yeah. But if I'm the Titans, yeah, I mean, it's either full reset or you do like what Denver tried to do, which is you get a stud player now and work with who you have and just try to like sneak your way in, which, as the Broncos have proven time and time again, just does not work. Joe Flacco, Case Keenum, Teddy Bridgewater, now Russell Wilson. We'll get to my Broncos later, but I think for the Titans it's reset, rebuild, but try to be competitive and see who you have. Which I do think I'll end it with this. I think they have a lot of depth. I think there are a lot of good players still left on the Titans that could produce if they just had the right coach and the right the right schemes in play with the right coordinators. But I think when they do this reset, you have to wonder if it's going to be beneficial to who's there now, or if it's going to be the hard reset where it's let's just see who we have, let's get where we can get, let's move on, call it a day. All right. Next up, this is another one. I was dead wrong in the offseason about the Panthers, obviously. They got shut out again, 9-0. Tampa wins the NFC South in, like, what is probably the most unfair, ugliest fashion I've ever fucking seen in my life.
Didn't even score a touchdown, Tampa. Still won.
They didn't have to. I mean, at the end of the day, they didn't have to. And now Baker Mayfield's, like, a home underdog against the Philadelphia Eagles, but it's, like, I think it's only, like, 4 points.
Well, we'll get to the Eagles.
Ugh. Yeah, I'm looking now. Now it's down to 3.
Yeah, I don't have a lot for this game. Yeah, Tepper needs a guard. I mean, what a joke. Getting shut out the last 2 games, fumbling in the end zone to get a touchback to avoid getting the cover. This was one of my disappointing beats of the week. Very sharp play, Carolina. And I feel like, honestly, my handicap was correct.
Oh, yeah.
Tampa's offense was going to struggle. Too bad Carolina couldn't literally do anything. And Bryce Young's going to be one of the biggest draft busts in history because when you look at him compared to C.J. Stroud, I mean...
Oh, my God. Night and day.
We're starting to look at, like, comparisons between, like, Josh Allen and Josh Rosen and, like, Josh Allen and Sam Darnold. I mean, this is going to be one of the biggest misses ever.
But can we talk about this, though? Like, and this is in defense of those quarterbacks. And now, Rosen was historically bad. I have nothing with him. Look at Darnold. He went to the Jets. You look at Bryce Young. He went to David Tepper and the fucking Panthers, who are just like a clusterfuck of disaster. I think we have to start getting to the point where, like, these teams who are drafting quarterbacks, we have to, like, stop holding the quarterback so much accountable. And I think with this Justin Fields situation in Chicago, too, we're going to have to see. Because if Chicago does...
We're going to get to Justin Fields, too, because I was proven right, even though I lost and owe you a incinerator now.
Yeah.
By the way, I haven't forgotten about the incinerator. That will happen the next time we meet. It will be on video.
I appreciate that.
Will happen.
I appreciate that, although I feel like I should be doing one with you the way I did this week. I'm 100% with Niner Gang, and I even said this after we saw Dalton. I think it was week 3 or week 4 when Dalton came in to play against Seattle. Dalton looked so much better in the system they had set up with Frank Reich compared to Bryce Young, and it was just like Dalton should just be the starter because they're going to be at least be more successful, not necessarily in the sense that they'll win, but at least they could, produce something. Yeah, and as far as these like rookie quarterbacks under bad teams, it's like you look at Justin Fields at the end of the year, you look at CJ Stroud, and it's even with Trevor Lawrence, look how bad he looked under Urban Meyer, and now you get a guy like Doug Peterson, and now they're a winning organization, now they're like a playoff contender, even though they didn't make it this year. So, like, I'm not going to completely blame Bryce Young in this situation for how bad they played, but you can't be... I don't know how you were starting quarterback next year. You ended the season shut out. You can't be the starter. You have to be benched. You need an Andy Dalton to come in next year to just start. And then if he still sucks and you're not getting anywhere, then maybe come back in.
My big concern with Bryce Young, real quick, is I don't see it. You look at like quarterbacks who struggled in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Every once in a while, though, you see a glimpse of like it could be there. Like I hate to use like a Josh Allen, but like a Josh Allen, a Lamar Jackson, guys who didn't necessarily sort of start out as like, wow, this is going to be like. Didn't start out like a Justin Herbert or you still
hate.
Where
you hate Lamar Jackson
holy
too.
Shit, these guys are going to be the best quarterbacks in the league. But like you saw plays every once in a while of like, wow, that guy's special. If he could do that all the time, he'll be real. Like with Bryce Young, I just don't see enough of like those glimpses.
He's a Trey Lance. And again, like Trey Lance, I mean, I don't know like what your opinion is, Niner gang, on this. My opinion was that the Niners got fleeced in the offseason in the draft. They bought into a bad narrative and went with the wrong guy, which it is what it is, and Trey Lance may not have been the guy, but yeah,
I feel like there's a book coming one day in like 20 years that explains the real story of Trey Lance, because I think there might have been something. I mean, obviously the injuries were a big deal, and he didn't exactly play tremendously when he was in there. But I don't know, for them to basically trade him away, I feel like there was something. Niner gang, you probably know more than we do. I think there was something there that maybe, normal people didn't know about.
But didn't it seem, to me, it just seemed weird because with the Niners, they were talking about drafting a Mac Jones who looked like a pocket passer quarterback who fit into the Kyle Shanahan system. Then they went with this Trey Lance kid, and it was like, were they buying into this, like, all this hype for just no reason? And was there something we were missing? And even I felt like this. I was like, they made the wrong pick with Trey Lance from jump. And not because of necessarily Trey Lance, but it was just like they picked a guy not necessarily who would fit into that system. I guarantee you, like in Dallas, if he were ever to become a starter, I'm not going to say he's going to be great or be as good as Dak, but wouldn't you see him on a team like Dallas where if they just built around him, he'd be at least a little more successful than we saw with San Francisco?
But see, like I'm saying, it's hard to tell with the quarterbacks because, again, like with Trey Lance, I feel like there was something that was not on the field, whether it was he didn't study, he didn't get along with coaches. Like there seems to be something that was the reason why San Francisco just, got rid of him. Oh, well, there you go, Niner gang. I have a feeling Niner gang and I are going to be seeing each other in the Super Bowl. I have a good feeling about that.
We'll see. Denver has a first-round pick since COVID, so... which is disgusting. So, yeah, not much else with the Tampa game. My early tease on that game, it's a Baker Mayfield Monday night primetime spot.
Oh, Jesus.
Do the research. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, moving on. We got to do this. It's the Jets. They hung 17 on Bill Belichick in what might be his last game as a Patriots head coach. Patriots managed a whole whopping 3 with Bailey Zappi. This one, I guess it was wrong handicap, and the snow really didn't help either, but yeah, this was like the ugliest performance I've ever seen out of the Patriots in a very, very
the
long
Patriots
time.
Offense. The Patriots offense was nothing. And
why did they keep trying to throw the ball? Like at some point, you see your quarterback
run the ball. That's why.
But you had an Ezekiel Elliott. You could have at least I'm sorry, but it just got to a point where it wasn't even Bailey Zappi's fault per se. How many fucking drop passes did we see in that game where it was just like, okay, clearly these guys can't catch. Just throw up some run plays, and if it doesn't work, punt it. You're punting anyways at this point. Like, at least with Zeke, you're gonna at least feed him.
No grounded off flights. I don't know. The Jets were soaring. No, not really. That just hurt. We talked about it. It was the Jetsiest win ever, where literally the Jets win a meaningless game to lose out on better draft position.
What a fraud win for the Jets too, because now their record's going to reflect a lot better too, and we're going to forget later down the line this was the one ugly win that
my favorite. I'll leave you with this because this game doesn't warrant any more discussion because of how terrible it was. The Jets mathematicians on the sideline miscalculated Breece Hall's rushing yards. They had to put him back in the game because he was actually 6 yards short of 1,000 yards. That's how bad the Jets are. They miscounted how many yards he had, so they thought he had 1,000, which is what they wanted to get him. And it actually turned out that the guy literally only had 994 yards. That's where we're at with the
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of guardianship, their quarterback Aaron Rodgers has officially been removed from the Pat McAfee show. He is no longer going to be a segment for their show. Number one, if he does come back, I don't know if I really want to see this guy. Like, I kind of just, I'm at the point where I've gotten to the point with Aaron Rodgers. I just want him to go. Like, he can go do his stupid conspiracy shows. He can go on YouTube and do a podcast. He'll get thousands of views there. I don't care, but I just know for this next coming off season, it's going to be, is Rodgers going to retire? Is he going to come back as a Jet? And it seems like the Jets have already, like, predetermined they're going to, like, keep everyone because it's like, okay, if Rodgers comes back, it's, like, back to square one as this year. Makes sense to me, but...
Yeah, I heard that too, Niner Gang. There were people that said they think that it doesn't necessarily mean anything, that he might be just... that he, like, might be back for the next regular season and anyway.
Oh,
so
well, yeah, he's done for
really.
this season.
Yeah.
But I also know he's going through the bullshit, like, with Jimmy Kimmel, and I won't even fucking give that... I won't even give that airtime. I'll just say this, like, I'm tired of, like, the disingenuous mentality of Aaron Rodgers. I just want him, whatever happens this offseason, I just want him to come out. Yes, I'm coming back. No, I'm retiring, and that be it. And the Jets...
I mean, it seems like he always needs to be the center of attention. Look, here's how I'll end it. The class clown is fun in the beginning. He's goofy. He's fun. He says stupid stuff. He's a good laugh. It's just to the point now where it's like the Rodgers stick for a guy who's he's been out the whole year, just sort of sick and tired of Aaron Rodgers. Well, you're not going to have to worry about that. I don't see the Jets making the playoffs next year. So, unfortunately, I don't think you're going to have a chance to beat him in the playoffs anytime soon.
Well, you know what? It was worth it when we were betting money on him.
Yeah, that was always like Aaron Rodgers versus the Niners.
Oh, here's the Niners.
San Francisco minus 30. Yeah. For real.
Yeah. God, the fucking Patriots. So now that if Bill Belichick goes, I mean, does he retire? Does he move to another team? What do the Patriots do for me? I heard a small rumor Josh McDaniels might be making a small return to the Patriots.
Oh, I hope so.
It would be easy money. Oh, what's the Patriots over under? Under.
Yeah.
Every week. All right.
I don't know with Bill. I don't know. Well, we'll see. I feel like that's going to be next few days. We'll figure out what they're going to do with him.
My personal opinion, real quick, is I think he's going to step down as GM, and I think he'll either step down as GM or he'll step down as head coach. I don't see him doing both.
Like Saban retire. You have nothing left to prove. Just retire.
Yeah, Nick, by the way, RIP Nick Saban. That I did not see that one coming, but at the same time, it was time. I think the game is moving in a different direction.
Oh my God, could you imagine Nick Saban to the Patriots? That kind of, there would be the most Patriots fitting in that.
There really, could you imagine Belichick comes in, I'm going to step down as head coach, I'm going to take over GM position full time, introducing new head coach Nick Saban.
No, what would really be funny? Bill Belichick goes to coach Alabama and Saban goes to the Patriots.
That would be fun.
He'd never do that, but that'd be funny.
No, he wouldn't. All right, so we never thought a team would like start their starters in a game where they've already clinched the spot.
Oh my God, yeah.
Detroit played everybody in a meaningless spot against the Minnesota Vikings. 30-20 was the final score. Detroit wins. I guess we've heard enough about Nick Mullins, and I know like the narrative is going to be we're going to invest in backup quarterbacks next year. Minnesota has like so many questions on what's going to happen at quarterback next year. I think Kirk Cousins is up for renewal, but Detroit in a meaningless game, Sam Laporta, starting tight end, gets hurt. Nicky Momo, Niner gang, he did what Nicky Momo does best and does a backup type performance. I really don't have much on the Minnesota side. I just found it like this is what I'll say. Smart head coaches are going to learn how to get into Dan Campbell's head, and they're going to use it against him. And I have a good feeling that's going to happen in the playoffs. Because this guy is very aggressive. He always plays he'll play to win, but he also plays like, oh, why are we gonna rest? This is a game. Let's go. You have incentives, get in there. Players coach, but I just feel like Dan Campbell doesn't have like a gut check guy where it's like, hey Dan, maybe take a step back. Maybe instead of going for 2 on the 3rd attempt, maybe we just kick the extra point because this is going bad. And I could just see it's like a rookie boneheaded move. But either way, Detroit, had we known it was going to be full starters, I leaned them anyways. Another opportunity I should have said, you know what, it's Dan Campbell.
I mean, honestly, though, like, I'm a little concerned for Detroit because, number one, I mean, they didn't exactly murder Minnesota. Like,
no,
it wasn't that much. Like, it was a game. Sam Laporta getting hurt, big loss, too. No doubt about that. But number 3, I'm a bit concerned that, like, I think the reason they played all their starters was because they were pissed off about what happened in the Dallas game. And I'm just concerned that, like, this is a team that's not 100% focused on, like, what's in front of them. I mean, is this just going to be their sort of thing? Like, the Dallas game is going to be hanging over their heads and sort of derail their whole season? Like, I'm just wondering if it's one of those things where, like, they're going to come out flat as a pancake this coming next week because, you know, they're focused to playing Dallas in the second round and they lose a game to a Rams team that, let's be honest, the Rams are a live dog this week.
In the house that Matt Stafford built,
the Rams are live this week. I could 100% the Rams basically with an extra week's rest. I could definitely see them being live in Detroit.
I'll say this is what concerns me about Detroit. Your defense put up almost 400 on a Nick Mullins in a meaningless game. I am going to
yeah, that would be fitting. He couldn't win one with Detroit, but he'll win one against them.
I mean, look, Stafford will win a playoff game in Detroit for the first time since the NFC Central was a thing. But no,
could you imagine, like, he wins, retires, and then next year they put his name in the rafters in Detroit after he beat them in the playoffs? That'd be funny.
I could see it. No, I'm very concerned if I'm Detroit's defense. You literally in a meaningless game where you played your starters, I know the points don't really show it, but like if Nick Mullins almost put up 400, now you're going to get Matt Stafford in the most comfortable road game of his life with a Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Tyler Higbee. I could go on. I mean, what is this defense going to do to stop him? And I don't care. It's Jared Goff, and it's a dome game. That's fine, but we've seen too many inconsistencies with Jared Goff. And you have to wonder when he's going to, like, is he a little overdue to lay an egg? I mean, the Dallas game, he looked pretty rough points-wise, seemed to struggle on offense. There was times earlier in the season, I think Tampa was one game in Tampa. He struggled to put up points. Carolina, I think, was another game where they allowed a lot of points from Bryce Young. Or was that the Andy Dalton game? I can't remember. But either way, like the Detroit Lions, I am afraid they are a one and done team. And yeah, Jared Goff or Golf. I don't know which one's more boring, but
yeah, well, I mean, especially against a decent defense. I mean, I don't know. Detroit at home, again, another team that's better at home. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well, yeah, we're gonna see. That's gonna be an interesting one, that's for sure.
Yeah, not much else I gotta take away from there. Vikings, like I said, I'm excited to see what they do in the offseason. I personally hope they keep Kirk. I think we've seen enough with Dobbs, Mullins, their other rookie. I think this is the kind of team where it's like they sign a Kirk Cousins for so long and people are judging and they're just like, well, why the fuck would you pay Kirk Cousins all this money? You never go anywhere. Then you see these other guys and it's like, oh yeah, that's why you paid Kirk Cousins, because he's literally the only chance you have. All right, next up we have the Incinerator game. It was the Chicago Bears. They were a 3-point road underdog. Green Bay 17, Chicago 9. I'm going to give you this credit, though. I think you had the right handicap on Green Bay. Justin Fields, he was literally forced to play quarterback, and he choked.
I mean, but see, this is where I'm going to this is where I'm going to fight with people because that game showed me why Justin Fields should be traded for a first-round pick this coming year.
And I know I'm going to sound like a hypocrite because I was literally fighting with you last week on this. Because I was like, well, you know what? Maybe Justin Fields has been playing well, and maybe he is showing enough. This was the game for his career, and he choked. And literally, they were interviewing the Packers defense, and they were like, well, what was your game plan? Oh, the plan was to make him play quarterback. And you could kind of tell watching the game, there wasn't too many scrambles. He went under his rushing yards prop, 55.5, which was a massive loss on our round robin. But watching that game, he didn't really have an opportunity to scramble, and the Packers literally forced him to throw. Yeah. And a lot of times he ended up getting sacked because he just couldn't make the read.
And no offense, we talked about it. The Packers defense has been horror awful. They gave up 30 points to Bryce Young.
Yep.
We could go on and on. Their defense has been one of the worst in football. And I know the Bears always get owned by the Packers, but no offense, like Chicago's defense hung in there, gave up 17 points. Chicago's offense did nothing. Eberflus is back, but the offensive coordinator got fired. Like, what are the Bears even doing? So are you going to have Justin Fields with a new offensive coordinator? Like, are you going to get a new quarterback? Like, it just doesn't make sense. The Bears are they're a disaster right now. I don't know what they're going to do.
It sounds like to me either what they're going to do is they're going to get a new coordinator, kind of like what they did with Lamar. And now Lamar, though, he was under a new contract situation. It's very similar if you really think about it. You have a situation where it's like, do you let Lamar go or do you rebuild around him with a new coordinator? The Ravens, they opted to sign him eventually. They ended up with a new coordinator eventually. And they're the number one seed in Lamar Jackson's MVP. So I think if you're the Bears and you're looking for a model, that is what you do. But you have to be careful.
I'm going to stop you. Here's why you're wrong.
But it is Justin Fields.
Say what you will about Lamar. He was a former MVP. Justin Fields started off the season as like the worst quarterback in football and got outplayed by Tyler Badgett when he came in. They're not comparable. Because Lamar, again, former MVP.
Well, no. I wasn't trying to compare Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson quarterback wise. I was comparing the situations. Where I'm saying if you're the Bears and you plan on keeping him, that's the mentality you have to go in with it. But I 100% agree with you.
Like, to me, it just seems so easy to trade him because, like, to me, his value is the highest it's ever going to be. Like, you're never getting a first round pick for him again. Because I think after 8 games, he might be benched next year. Like,
well, where the hell is he going to go?
I'm not sold on Fields at all.
That's
like
my problem. Said,
Green Bay made him play quarterback. He couldn't play quarterback.
Yeah, but where does he go? And are you really going to get a first? Are you going to? I think, and again, it's a very similar situation with Baltimore. It was like, Baltimore, you're going to offer a trade, but you're not going to get the package you want. You let him go, no one's going to want to sign him for the money.
Atlanta might sign him.
I think you stick with Ritter.
No.
It's the same thing.
I think Atlanta could.
You know what the difference is? Ritter will win you home. He'll win your home games. You know that already. Can't say that about Justin Fields.
See, I don't know. Seattle?
No, they got Geno. They'll ride with him.
That's a 1-year deal with a new coach. He may be gone. I mean, I think there are teams that would trade for Justin Fields. I really do.
Well, Denver, that would be hilarious.
You know, honestly, what if you did? What if you did? God, I hope it happens now. I'm rooting for that.
The problem is we can't pay him. Because
you got Ross. Yeah, you got Ross. But no, I could see a couple teams potentially try. Maybe Pittsburgh. Would Pittsburgh roll the dice on him? Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Hard maybe. We'll see. Nothing else there. But I'll end it with this for the Packers. Now they have to go to Dallas, and it's one of those interesting wild card spots where do you play the spot or do you play the handicap? Because I think if you handicap
now? What's the line?
7.5.
Yeah, Fields to Atlanta. They were talking about getting Lamar, and maybe they would get Fields. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
7 and a half. That's Dallas. Dallas
Green
is in the early running for best bet. That game may not be close.
I think Dallas is like 1-7 in their last 8 against Green Bay.
I got to handicap more, but I don't know, man. That could be a blowout.
Yeah, but how much of that was Aaron Rodgers too? You have to remember.
Yeah.
So
Dallas at home where they've killed everybody all year. Yeah. But anyway, all right, next.
Anyways, what's the next game we got up? It is It is the Dallas Cowboys. Speaking of them, they covered as 13.5-point road favorites against Washington. Ding dong, another witch is dead. Ron Rivera, so long, sayonara. Sorry you didn't win a Super Bowl. My team beat you. Ha 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 ha. And
so
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. All right. What do I even say?
Nothing.
Ron Rivera, the game has moved on from Ron Rivera. That much was very evident. I think Washington's another dead team next year. They're just going to be strict rebuild. Eric Bieniemy might be out again. I'm interested to see where he goes, but it's looking like Washington's going to be in a hard rebuild for the next few years.
Yeah, Dallas, nothing to say. They recovered and handled their business perfectly fine.
I will say,
same thing that happened like the first game. They just took over and beat
I thought it was funny that I heard from certain NFL betting sharps that were like, "Oh yeah, the Cowboys were in the spot on Thanksgiving with the Commanders and they lost. So we should bet the commies plus the points." And I fell into that trap because it was Thanksgiving. And I'm like, well, yeah, that kind of makes sense. They beat the shit out of them. And then it happened again this week, and I didn't listen to them. And I was like, oh, yeah, they were like, the Cowboys, they're playing against a shit team. I don't care that it's on the road. This is Washington. They suck. Oh, but Washington will cover as 13 because the number's high, and Dallas tends to choke in these games. And not realizing, oh, yeah, the playoffs are about to come around. They're Niner gang, I promise you, they will choke at some point.
Oh no! When they play you guys in San Francisco in the NFC Championship, they'll lose by 30.
That's even if they make it. God forbid they get Philadelphia at home again.
I actually think Detroit would beat them.
I mean, if the Niners do knock them out a third straight in the conference championship, that would be like.
Oh, there's no chance that unless Purdy gets hurt, McCaffrey gets hurt, Debo gets hurt. If San Fran's full strength against Dallas, it's not even going to be a contest.
Yeah, this is. I don't even see Dallas make. Dallas hasn't even made the conference championship in how many years? If they play Philly, I can make the argument they'll lose in that upset spot.
Philly's not getting. I have a feeling Philly might not even get past the first round.
We'll see. But yeah, no, Dallas they did what they should have. Now they get a home game against Green Bay. My early feelings, I feel like that one's going to be a lot closer than we think. And if the harder they have to play Green Bay, I'm going to be very much more afraid of them to bet on the side of Dallas when it comes to the divisional round. And it feels like if Dallas is going to make it, it's going to be very ugly. It's going to be very close. It's not going to be through their defense. It's going to have to be through some magic bullshit at this point. Dallas, every year, they will find a way to choke in the spot. They do it every time.
Well, I think the big concern about Dallas is, again, another team like Miami. Great record against losing teams, not a great record against winning teams.
Yeah, now it's going to... I mean, at this point, it's nothing but winning teams. So, but you're going to be at home... Unless you have to play San Francisco, you're going to be at home. You're the number 2. Yeah,
well, like I said, if they play San Fran NFC Championship, that is a Niners lock.
Niners.
Yeah.
Niners. Okay. Yeah, Washington, they're dead. Seattle went to Arizona. Seattle 21, Arizona 20. Had Seattle -3. Had a 2.5 unit play.
Oh, that hurt. Yeah, that's
sick.
What led to the incident when we were together. That one hurt.
Yeah. I'll let you speak on this. Disappointment just comes to mind, but in betting senses, not necessarily the game.
Yeah. I mean, first off, great run by Pete Carroll. It's cool that at least, even though he is out, which it seemed like he didn't want to be, at least he is going to the front office and still it's still
He'll
with
be
Seattle at least.
He'll be
So,
relevant in some capacity.
Yeah, so that's cool. I mean, he had a great run. He, look, Seattle again, 9-8 with Geno Smith, the quarterback. I mean, I don't think people realize that Seattle, their defense isn't that good. Their quarterback isn't that good. They're in a very tough division with the Rams, the Niners, both really good teams, obviously. For the game itself, I mean, Kyler Murray in Arizona lost. Surprise, surprise. Seattle
Kyler
did
lost
what they
another
needed
home
to
game.
get the win. But yeah, I thought they'd look better. Seattle probably didn't deserve to be in the playoffs. I will admit that. I think they were a one and done in the playoffs anyway. But rip Pete Carroll. Sad day. I'm gonna miss the guy. He was fun to watch.
I will say this. I was right about Seattle at the beginning of the season. They were not in the sense of they were going to be bad, but I was like, this is like a 500 team at best. We saw this last year. They didn't make many changes. Their schedule really didn't change enough for me to think that they were going to be a better team. So I was one of these people that was like, why are we betting Seattle to win the division? It's like, and I even told you like a long time ago, I was like, I would take the Rams to win the division over the Niners before I would take the Seahawks. Don't get me wrong. It was like, I think a great correlated play would have been like Seahawks playoffs and Niners division. That could have been interesting to see play out, even though it didn't happen. But yeah, no, Pete Carroll, like future Hall of Famer, number one. He will definitely go down in the Hall of Fame. One of the greatest.
And that's a good point. Like, sea chickens are down bad. I think the Seahawks are one of those teams next year. Like, I think you get rid of Geno, or
I disagree with that. You
get rid of Geno, maybe you keep Drew Lock and you start looking to the future, because I think they're going to be a team that needs to rebuild.
Yeah, I guess the question is: are the Seahawks are they a head coach away from being a real?
No. I don't think. If anything, I think they've overperformed. I don't think what they could do is sustainable. Like, it looks like it takes a lot of effort for them to get to 9-8, and I just think that it's time to start rebuilding.
All I'm gonna say is, as much shit as he put me through in 2013 when they beat the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl, he took Drew Lock and beat the Philadelphia Eagles in prime time. Can't imagine I would ever see that, but yeah, I don't know if it's a head coach only situation. I know Geno is not sustainable, but I don't think you necessarily get rid of him. Only because you have gone 9-8 with him as it is, and I think if you keep everyone else, it might be a situation where honestly, if you're the Seahawks, do you look at Mike Vrabel and just think we could put him in?
I don't know. If I feel like Vrabel would be a better team for. I mean, that's really interesting. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah,
I thought it was double bubble, but that's okay.
No, I mean, I could see Vrabel going to like Atlanta. I could see him more as like the coach of Atlanta, maybe New England. Someone more established. I don't know. Like, I feel like Seattle's going to want like a reset. You know what I mean? Like, I could see Atlanta wanting a coach who can come in and sort of bring an attitude. So I think Vrabel is going to go more to like an Atlanta.
I could see Vrabel going
Tepper's shit. So I can't see him going to like Carolina. But
yeah. I'd say New England would be a fitting.
Yeah, New England, Atlanta.
I don't know. I'm just not ready to. I don't know why. I'm just not ready to really write off Seattle. I kind of just want to see what they do in this offseason, coaching-wise. If you look at that offense, they have the pieces. Geno is like think about it. Geno might be the weakest link on that offense, and they're still like a over 500 team. They got Tyler Lockett.
Offense did not perform well last week. That's the only thing. So I don't know.
That's true. Well, Geno was also hurt, but that's neither here nor there. And Seattle's defense is not as good as it used to be either. I think that's the bigger concern, not necessarily Geno. That defense is rough.
True, yeah, true.
Anyways, moving on. LA Rams 21, San Francisco 20. Battle of the backups. Darnold and somehow, some way, Carson Wentz got an unnecessary win.
Niner gang crap. Niner gang. What the fuck, man?
Oh,
we were on Sam Darnold against Carson Wentz. The Niners own the Rams.
To be fair, I was more against Carson Wentz. I like Carson Wentz.
That one hurt. I thought the Niners were a lock. I can't believe the Rams won.
Well, this was like a Sean McVay type win, if you think about it. Like, meaningless game. Nobody's really playing. It literally played out like a preseason game. And Sean McVay, like, you know him. He doesn't give a shit. We saw this the first time these two teams played. He'll play for the cover if he wants to.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
third string guys. Yeah, I mean, Niners gang. Like, I'll defend you here, buddy. This is like you had third stringers. Like, this was a preseason game, and you were getting Sean McVay with points. That probably should have been the right handicap.
Yeah, we got suckered with the Shanahan. We can only rest so many guys, and again, that's why you really got to be careful betting these games because
you don't want to bet a lot,
especially like this. Two teams in the playoffs that really had no desire to play anyone. I was just surprised with how like Carson Wentz looked. I was shocked he looked as good as he did.
Yeah, we said the same thing about Matt Stafford. We said the same thing about Baker Mayfield when he was starting with the Rams. Like, I think we just need to admit, like, and I know Niners gang won't be too happy about this. Sean McVay is a hell of a head coach. This guy knows what he's doing, and he can work. He seems like a head coach he can work with.
I gotta admit, I wasn't that high on Sean McVay until this year. He won me over this year. I was never a big fan of his, but he won me over this year.
They were a 6.5 win team total in the offseason.
I remember listening to Sharp saying, bet the under on the Rams. They're going to be terrible. Well,
and I disagreed. I was like, no, this is like, they're not a rebuild team yet. They have everybody coming back, and they drafted 13 fucking rookies to come in. To think that they're not going to try and perform is like ridiculous. I think they could be a 7-win
Williams was the big. I mean, he completely changed the team. Completely changed that offense.
Yeah, and now that they're in the playoffs, like, I hate to say it, I'm not discounting Sean McVay in the playoffs. I never have, and I never will.
I think they're live this week. I think the Rams are very live this week.
Rams are very live, and as for the Niners, they get the 1 week off, which is going to be very, very helpful for.
Well, really 2 weeks off because they didn't play anybody, so really 2 weeks off, which is good. A lot of time for McCaffrey to rest, Debo to rest.
So I got to pull up the bracket real quick, but I mean, I guess it's early playoff picture, but I mean, what's the road to the Super Bowl look like for this fucking Niners team? Now they're the number 1 seed.
I think they're playing the Rams at home next week.
For me, it's the Rams or the Packers if the Packers get that upset.
Packers aren't beating the Cowboys. There's 0 chance.
Never say zero. Never say zero.
Jordan Love is no good. He's crap.
McVay did come from the Shanahan. Yeah, that's true. I think they were all the way out in Washington together with Mike McDaniels. So it does make sense. I track it, and Shanahan owns McVay for a reason. But no, I think he got one. In a meaningless game, he got one. Let him have it. We'll wait till playoffs to see where it really matters. All right. Why did I lose it? Hang on one sec. I know we don't have many games left, but I want to say the next up, unfortunately, is the Denver Broncos. Once again, losing to the Las Vegas Raiders, a team we have not yet beat. I jumped ahead. There was one game we missed, but I think we could save it. It's another NFC game. We'll save it. Yeah, I think I handicapped the one game right, and it was my team fucking losing.
That was literally my only 4 o'clock fucking victory.
Oh, by the way, for all the fucking Denver sports media that was literally slobbering all over, like, Jarrett Stidham's cock in the fucking, like, Twitter and the radio, like, can we, like, admit you were wrong? Can you, like, apologize now? Literally the narrative in 2 weeks has been Russell Wilson sucks. He needs to be benched. We need to get rid of him. Oh, look, Stidham. He looks competent. He's the guy. Now it's, well, you know what? Maybe Denver should keep Russell Wilson next year. Oh, yeah, and the money cap's going to be tough, and it's like, and these are the same motherfuckers that have given fans shit all over Twitter, just basically saying we don't know what we're talking about. But we see this shit miles away before it even comes across the fucking internet. Denver is a team, and I've been saying this, they just make bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. This was a Jarrett Stidham start we all knew was going to happen. I won't even get too mad about the performance. I won't even say how Jarrett Stidham did less than Russell Wilson would have done in one half of football, because we all know that's true. It was a meaningless game, but this was the game, if you're the Broncos, you play for pride, and they showed none.
I mean, not to the Raiders. The Raiders were playing for their coach, and
that's the difference. The Raiders were playing for their coach. The Broncos literally showed up. And you could tell.
Broke off another massive run.
I'm fucking glad the Broncos season is over. Like, I'm so done with that team. I'd rather focus on the other Denver winning organizations, that is the Nuggets and the Avalanche, where they have proper ownership who knows what they're doing, doesn't do bullshit or try to fucking get themselves in a lawsuit with, their star players. The Raiders, congratulations, Antonio Pierce. You got your swan song. If you get the starting job, it'll be well deserved. But God, I hate the fact we can't even beat the Raiders.
God, the Raiders feel like they're a quarterback away, don't they? Raiders feel like they're a quarterback away.
No, they are. They're still miles away.
I don't know. Their defense is coming around. Like, that defense is playing better. Now, again, what's going to be hard is Devontae Adams is probably going to the Jets. Josh Jacobs may be gone. Like, you're going to have to do it with some different guys, but they really feel like a team that's sort of like, it felt like for a while they literally had a quarterback and nothing else, even though now we know that Carr was no good. It feels like literally, they won 8 games or 7 games with Aiden O'Connell. Like, yeah. They're a quarterback away, it feels like, from
but you look at those,
at least making some waves.
Yeah, but you have to remember, like, some of those games were very fluky. The Jets on primetime Sunday night is a good example. They played fucking Zach Wilson in a shit spot for him. The Chargers Thursday night, where they threw up 60 because the Chargers had all but essentially given up on their head coach. I don't know if you get those games next year if you're the Raiders.
Yeah, but they could have beaten Miami. They could have, I forgot. There was one other game, I feel like, besides Miami. I feel like they played another team close that they had no business beating and lost because they couldn't put up any points.
Yeah, to be honest with you, the only hype I would give the Raiders is that the Chiefs are collapsing and now you might be able to catch up. But for the longest time, you looked at the Raiders, you looked at the Broncos. Hell, you could even make the argument with the Chargers, and you were saying, yeah, but you're still not on the level of Kansas City. Now Kansas City's kind of coming back down to earth. And that's really where you can
see how long that lasts. When you have Patrick Mahomes, your window's always open, you know what I mean? So
yeah. Christ, with that said, we'll go to that NFC game real quick. It was the Christ, I don't even know if we talked about the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree. I think Aiden O'Connell could be a serviceable backup, but they need a legitimate NFL star. Honestly, a Kirk Cousins might be helpful for a team like that. Although I don't know if they want to go younger or not. They might want a younger guy. But
if you're the Raiders, and I could see, the only thing I would say about the Raiders is I could see them, if they get a new head coach, especially if Jim Harbaugh ends up coming into town, it's going to be rebuild. And it's not going to be with it's not going to be with who they have. They're going to get rid of Jacobs. They're going to let Adams go. It's going to be hard.
No, they're the team that cannot get Jim Harbaugh. That is literally the last 3 hirings to the Raiders. John Gruden, Josh McDaniels, the last 2, is that big name guy who ended up, leading them to shit. Like, I think they need a guy like Pierce, even if it's just a couple years and it goes nowhere. They just need to cool their jets and not go and get the flashy name right now. because they keep chasing these flashy names and getting themselves into trouble.
No, I agree with you. I think they should go with it. If they were smart, they would go with Adrian Pierce. But you know what? It's Vegas. It's the Davis family. They're gonna go flashy.
Yeah.
Nick Saban to the Raiders. I mean, would that really surprise you if it was Nick Saban?
No. See, the thing is, though, like, I don't think he'll go back to the NFL because if you remember, any AFC East historians, he was the coach of the Miami Dolphins and literally left after 13 games to go coach Alabama in one of the most gutless, puke-infested moves where he literally left notes in the lockers saying that, like, he was leaving and to, like, thank you, but I'm leaving.
Jesus, yeah, that was bad. All right, yes. Speaking of gutless, the Eagles' gutless performance week 18 against the New York Giants. I was wrong. Dead wrong. Wrong. Tyrod Taylor, you are an NFL quarterback. 27-10. Tyrod, 297 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 interception against this Philadelphia team. Saquon, big game, 18 carries, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, Jesus Christ, what a gutless showing from this Eagles team. That was, of all the losses the Eagles have had this year, that was like the worst. And especially for a week 18 game where it was, you need to win this to have a chance to win your division. You probably want to win this anyways to, show some fucking fight in you. They gave up in like the second quarter.
They did the worst thing imaginable. They played their starters, had a terrible performance, and got their quarterback banged up. Yep. All in what ultimately turned out to be a meaningless game. I mean, the Eagles are like, they are cratering faster than the Titanic, and I don't know if they're going to be able to recover.
The implosion is so real, and now they're like a 2.5 point road favorite, and I think you have to ask yourself, do they have any business being, now it's 3, do they even have a business being a 3-point road favorite at this time? I don't think they should. Niner gang, you're not sorry. Don't bullshit us. You're not sorry at all.
No, to be fair, like the Niners were the start of it. They really got broken. I think they really got broken after that. They should have lost to Buffalo, but that's okay.
Oh, we don't need to worry about that. Well, of course you would say that, Jason.
No, they should have. They should have lost to Buffalo. We gave them that. What really broke them was the loss Sunday night to Dallas.
That was brutal.
It was literally like the Niners were the first nail in the coffin, and then like Dallas literally just poured cement over it. Because since then they've been like a dumpster fire team, and I mean honestly,
so
it's
bad.
Like one pro better said it this way: if the Eagles hadn't been in the Super Bowl last year, like what would we think of the Eagles team as? Like we'd probably think of them as like a below average to average team. And he's like, maybe we need to, like, let's be honest. If the Eagles didn't make the Super Bowl last year, this might be a pick'em game. I mean, Jalen Hurts, like, broke his finger.
I don't necessarily
do we know if he's, like, okay?
He's practicing, I think.
Okay, he's going to play. Do we know what we're going to get? I mean, Trevor Lawrence played 3 of the last 4 games. We didn't get anything good.
Yeah, it day by day it looks like for Jalen Hurts, and he's doing everything he can. So, I mean, there's a slight chance he actually sits out, but I didn't like what I saw with Mariota either. Not gonna lie to you. If I'm an Eagles fan, I'm very concerned. You're in one and done potential here, and even if you do get past the Bucks, I think the problem is you're gonna have people saying that the Bucks aren't even gonna be a real test because it's the NFC South. And they're just kind of the joke of the fucking league as far as divisions go. But you still have to get past Dallas. Then you have to, and say you win that. Realistically, you then have to go to San Francisco. Or say it's another division guy that somehow beat San Francisco just for whatever reason. Basically, you're on the, it sounds like you're going to be on the road if you're Philadelphia for about 3 straight weeks. Unless by some miracle, it's like some bullshit thing in the conference championship. And even then, you have wonders because the Eagles have like massively underperformed so bad this year at the end of this run. I just don't know at this point how you lay money on
Think about it
Philadelphia.
this way. There was a time earlier in the year where I actually thought the Eagles would have had a chance against the Niners in San Francisco. Same thing I said with Dallas. Even if they win, they're going to San Francisco. They have zero chance of beating San Francisco the way they're playing. Zero.
Oh no, the way they're playing, they're 1-and-done. The Eagles.
Yeah, I
are
don't
just
even know if they
dreadful.
beat Tampa, honestly.
I don't think they do. I really don't think they do. That early takeaway. I don't think they do, but there are trends in the other direction saying that maybe you should take the Eagles. And the argument I've heard is that, like, I thought buying low on the Eagles last week was the handicap. You're getting them even lower here.
I mean, you're wondering with the Eagles, are they like a penny stock that's just not worth anything? Forget buying low. They might be worth nothing. Yeah, 0.0. Agree. I think the Eagles are going to be very hard to back them this week. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank fuck this team's done. The LA Chargers 12, the Chiefs 13. That was like the shit game of the week that we did not see coming. I expected a lot more out of both of these offenses, even with the backups. Blaine Gabbert went 50%, 15 for 30. He threw a pick. Easton Stick, 258 yards. Nothing on the fucking scoreboard, though. Yeah, I literally have nothing here. It was a battle of the backups.
I had Chargers
bad.
under 19.5, so I guess that was my other 4 o'clock bet that made sense. Yeah, Chargers suck. Honestly, we should have bet Kansas City plus the points too, because the Chargers are just terrible. And Easton Stick isn't even a backup quarterback, so time for them to get a backup. Honestly, you can make the case they need a new quarterback because Herbert's been struggling. Who knows? They're probably going to get. That looks like the place where Jim Harbaugh is going to go. I think he's going to end up with the Chargers. So
I wouldn't. We'll I get it, but my problem, and kind of like what you alluded to, I've been very down on Justin Herbert for a long time. Now that next year he's going to come back, new coach, new regime, we're going to really see what this guy is.
Well, Cincinnati too, you got to wonder. They got a lot of high-priced people on defense that they're probably going to have to get rid of, and it looks like Quentin Johnson is a total scrub. Bust. So not looking too good for the Chargers.
I'm trying to think who was a worse bust. Jalen Reagor, Quentin Johnson. Like, who is the bigger bust? I'd argue Johnson.
Well, I mean, Quentin Johnson, it's 1 year, but the early returns are not good.
Yeah, what returns? You mean like the interception returns he's given? Oh, wait. Yeah. Oh, wait. That's Kadarius Toney.
Kadarius Toney may be a bigger bust.
Yeah, look, I'll say it like this. The Chiefs won, Toney didn't play. I don't think the math is that hard to figure out.
Yeah, they should bench him next week too.
Is Toney playing? Bet the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
Chiefs now host we're going to get to this next game. They're hosting Miami next week. I think we talk about the Miami game first before we go into that early handicap, but the Chiefs needed the extra rest. Their backups got an ugly-ass win as a home underdog, but I don't know how much credence I really give it towards moving forward with this Chiefs. Again, the Chiefs, the way they've been playing too, kind of like Philly, massively underperformed, massive struggles on offense. They could also be 1-and-done. All right, Mansmann, I'm going to give the floor to you. I'll introduce the game. Sunday Night Football. The Bills, 21, were my fade of the week. I faded the Bills. I bet Miami, did not get the cover. J.A. threw another interception. Mansmann's got the pick. Oh, he threw 2. You won the AFC East. Congratulations, sir. You are now the number 2 seed.
6-6 after week 12. Oof.
Get the table. That is the one regret from our Buffalo trip this year. We never did get to put you through a table. But
yeah, got to get the table. I'm telling you, if the Bills make the Super Bowl before the Super Bowl, I'm jumping to the table.
We'll make it happen.
I have to give myself time to heal, but yeah.
All right, so floor is yours. It's your team.
Oh boy. So yeah, this is the emotions you go through as a Bills fan. Like, we had a day of drinking. I was watching the Bills game. I'd already like, done what I did.
He went to war.
Getting tired.
Monty Mansmann went to war with the Tree of Destiny in his backyard.
Yeah. Like, so I'm like pissed off. I'm getting tired. Like, it's not looking good. I'm like, you know what? I'm getting tired. Like, I can't really go and watch this game anymore. Like, I hate to do it, but like, I have work the next morning. I'm getting tired. Like, the Bills offense is doing nothing. Literally, it seemed like the Bills offense was getting opportunity after opportunity. And then lo and behold, I go upstairs. I'm like, what the hell? I'll see what's going on my phone. Deontay Hardy, 96-yard punt return for a touchdown. Well, after that, I was watching the game, and sure enough, what can you say? Like, the Bills, very resilient team. We talked about how dangerous they are, and that's the one big fear for this week, although I do think this team can handle it. Looking like it's going to be a snowy Bills game. Remember what happened in the snow last year? I mean, the Bills should beat Pittsburgh, although we do struggle against Tomlin. So I'm a little nervous for this week, especially after like the big win against Miami. I could see the Bills coming out flat, but the Bills can run the ball. Josh Allen, the first interception was really bad. The second one was a 4th down play. The fumble was bad. But you know what? If this defense plays the way they've been playing and they're at the healthiest point like all year, hopefully Rasul Douglas is okay. But, this team could beat anybody. They're a legit Super Bowl contender because they're going to have at least 2 home games. They've done well against Baltimore in the past, so I think they got a chance there. But meanwhile, for Miami, I mean, I think this is like an epic collapse for them. I mean, they were 3 games ahead with like a 99% chance to win the division. And now they're going to Kansas City where, I mean, let's be honest, their season could very well be over after this week.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of said a lot of what I was going to take away. Here's the difference, though, and I'll touch on this base. Do you remember Leslie Frazier? I hope you don't, because...
Nope.
Yeah, that's the difference for this Bills team. And I will say, and I've been kind of like seeing it all year, your defense has massively improved, especially lately on defense. How many games have we seen since I've been watching Bills games with you ever since, you've moved up here? How many games have we seen the Bills defense just give up all these unnecessary points at the last second? Now you're seeing this like flip late in the season where the Bills have just been able to get the stops. They've been able to get the late games, even though they've had a couple where they've also choked. But I mean, the New York Giants was a prime example where I know there was no PI called, but guess what? You got to stop. You didn't let Darren Waller score. You won the game.
No.
This game against Miami, you stopped Tua Tagovailoa dead in his tracks, 2-minute drill. You won the game. You won the division. And if the Bills defense plays to that caliber for the rest of the playoffs, that will be the difference. And honestly, that kind of is how they got this far, even with the 6-6 record. I know that people want to say that it was, oh God, I forget your OC's name already, but the fact that he was fucking fired. And
Ken Dorsey, yeah.
Thank you, Ken Dorsey. I was like, yeah, Ken Dorsey gets fired. Now the Bills' offense has been better. I kind of disagree with that notion. I would say your Bills' offense has like regressed, especially with these last few games. Your offense has not looked as explosive, and Josh Allen is still making fucking mistake after mistake. And what concerns me is this going to be a really weird snowy game where is Josh Allen going to have one bad pick and it's going to cost you the fucking game? And it doesn't matter how good your defense will do. It's like, if this is a close game with Tomlin, you're going to get the points. He's one turnover away from fucking getting the win.
I think the question is, can we continue to run the ball? And again, I mean, Josh Allen played a good game. The interception in the first interception in the end zone was, I don't know what that was.
A bad throw, bad read, shit quarterback move. Something
Yeah.
you would something you would expect.
Again, it's so weird because we only scored 14 points, but Josh Allen basically accounted for 400 yards of offense. So, yeah, I don't know. It's the Bills are a weird team to sort of figure out. But you know what? With the Bills, the big difference between like this year and other years, they're a lot better in one-score games, winning close games. 6-3 against teams with a winning record.
Yeah.
They don't just beat up on the Cream Puffs anymore. If anything, they struggle against the Cream Puffs, and they've played better football against better teams. So,
yeah. Now, with that said, I know you've already spoke on to it. So, do you have any other words before we sign off? I mean, do you have any other gut feelings with this Pittsburgh game coming up in Buffalo, or?
I mean, I think the snow is going to be. I don't know. To me, I'm wondering if Pittsburgh was just happy to be here and is going to. I hate to say lay down and die, but they're going to be missing TJ Watt. He's already out of the game. That's a big loss for them. I mean, I just wonder if the Bills are going to like out talent them. I think more the bigger takeaway is the news was Miami in the locker room after the game, dead silent. I'm wondering if they're going to have the energy to go on the road where they haven't played well to Kansas City and put forward a good performance.
Yeah. I have a bunch of stats that I was gonna wait for our handicap session Friday. I'll end it with this. Pittsburgh 1-10 without TJ Watt.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the big stat. Yeah.
That is the big stat. Yeah, I ended the year. Actually, I don't even think I ran the numbers, but real quick. 6-10 ATS for week 18. Yeah. 8-8 money line. And I want to say, actually, I didn't even finish it, but I definitely got 9 on the over/under, so at least 9-7. But,
yeah. As for me, my best bets all lost again. Yay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my best bets under the week, under 35.5. Pittsburgh, Baltimore did hit. My dog of the week, Indianapolis Colts, fucking missed. Good job, dickhead, dropping the catch. Best bet, New England Patriots, fucking nowhere close. Over of the week, Chicago, Green Bay. No. Fade of the week, I faded the Bills. Proved me wrong. Yeah, that just big fucking unfortunate betting week. But now we're going to the wild card where, look, I took about a good 3 days rest from anything football related. Friday, I'm going to come in, hopefully refreshed, hopefully ready to go for playoffs. It'll be my time to shine. It's usually where I succeed the most. I'm going to hope to continue that streak as well. Money Mansmann, any final words of encouragement?
No. Looking forward to Wildcard Weekend. That's actually the one weekend of the playoffs where I have some success. The rest of it, I'll be shit. So I basically have one weekend to be useful before it goes bad. But no, looking forward to it. Excited that the Bills are still alive and playing at home. So that'll be fun. But yeah, other than that, right. I know it's late, so we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, no, we're good. All right, I'm good. I'm Steve. It's this week. It's Bad Beyta, but it's Big Bucks Beyta normally. Jason.
Yep. Jason, mediocre Mansmann after last week's performance. So.
All right, this is the Distinguished DeGents podcast. We're signing off. Good night, everybody. Good night,
Thanks
Niners
for joining us. Make that motherfucking money.
Amen.